Namaste. Episode 5. So, in the last episode, I introduced the idea of chakras along with nadis. Nadis as cellular space was introduced in the earlier episode 2, and we discussed a little more on that. And then in episode 4, we talked about chakras and how, as they are seen as a regulatory function of several things, not only prana but several things, at various points in our body, and there are supposed to be 116 chakras as per one school, but can be more. 72,000 nadis and 116 chakras. But then people say that 7 chakras are important. Okay, and these 7 chakras are along the spine. Okay. Starting from, I said, Muladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipuraka, Anahata, Vishuddhi, Agnya, and Sahasrara. Sahasrara is not one chakra. Sahasrara actually means Sahasra Ara. Ara means rotation, spinning. Okay. Sahasra means thousands, not just 1,000. Thousands of things that are rotating here, which I can naturally relate it to the neural networks in brain. How this operates, the brain functions. If you study neurology and neuroscience, there are several chakras that are going around, and they are all working in an integrated way to keep this body in good health in terms of controlling what you perceive, what you do, what you think, what you speak. Okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, so when we discuss Sahasrara Chakra, which means we are discussing here, we'll talk about how we are talking about neuroscience and all that. But then coming back to the idea of chakras, 7 chakras are found important, but not that they are the only 7 chakras. As per one count, there is 116, but all you need to know is there are several chakras, and those chakras are basically compensating for the prana not being going all over your place, to make you reach the highest potential of experiencing life as a biological being. Okay. The 7 chakras are along the spine. Now it is said that if the spine is erect, okay, let's say the spine is erect like this, okay, then the prana that is coming in, okay, it's controlled along the spine and distributed. So it's coming here, going there, coming from here, going there, coming from here, going there. But it's something like you can say it's a central control system that you have for prana, okay, the life force. All the nadis should go through this and they get distributed. There are several descriptions of the nadis, chakras. They call the triangle. Okay, then the Manipuraka is 16 petals. And Agnya is 2 petal, and this is 4, 14, 16. There are several numbers that you will see in the Shakta schools. Don't get caught in those micros. Please understand that we are essentially talking about, if this is Muladhara, okay, base tailbone level, there is Swadhisthana here, Manipuraka here, Anahata here, Vishuddhi here, Agnya here, and Chakras are here. And if you are able to get this central collection point working fine and then distributing it fine, then the prana will start reaching every cell very well. Okay. And then it will make the best potential possible of what a cell can do, what the 3 trillion cells can do. And then you can enjoy life to the fullest extent. So that is the pranayama idea. Now, the same idea also applies to Shakti. How if you can collect and distribute Shakti, then you have more Shakti. Okay, there is Kriya Shakti, which is what you do. There is Jnana Shakti, where you perceive and you think. There is Ichcha Shakti, which is what you desire. Okay, there are several things that will happen which will go into Siddhas and how you can achieve anything with your enhanced Shakti and so on and so forth. That we'll see later. We'll now stick to pranayama only, prana only, life. So that's the idea of chakras that we have. Okay. And those chakras are not visible. They are just points where we said it works. Okay. If you ask a surgeon to open up the body, he will see only tissues, muscles, bones, blood, maybe some waste which has not been disposed of completely, okay, and all that stuff. But he will not see a chakra. It's a concept. Okay. It's a way of dealing with something which is hidden, which is not visible to us. Okay. Once you have a handle on how you do this, then you can do it without getting into food. I mean, understand, ultimately, when I say food, we're also talking about medicines. Okay. No food, no medicines, but the whole system has to work. Then I'm not talking about biology, I'm talking about something that is happening that is very different from what is happening in biology. At best, quantum biologists will explain it in the future. But right now, we are talking about something which is there, but which has not been explained by other schools of science. Only yogic schools have got this science going. So, the fundamental thing, therefore, is that these 7 chakras which are on this line, okay, this spine has to be erect, and this hollow in the spine, things have to flow so that the distributions can happen. So let's say this has to be like this, straight. But if it's not straight, if it's like this, okay, it's not going to be effective, correct? It's bent. So if you take an image of yourself, the way if you take a spine or you watch anybody's backbone, normally backbone is never erect. Okay, the backbone is like this. It's bent. If the backbone is bent, the spine is bent. The spine is bent, the chakras are not aligned. They are not in a straight line. If they are not in a straight line, they are not distributing it properly. Okay? If they are not distributing it properly, you cannot get to the best state of being without Anna. I mean, you are not getting there. The Annamaya Kosha and Pranamaya Kosha are not to the fullest possible. So the fundamental thing, therefore, they say in the yoga is that get your spine erect. Okay. What does it mean by getting your spine erect? Spine, okay. Spine is a muscular skeletal structure to start with. There are nerves going through that. Yes, there is a nervous system going through that. There is, okay. But the backbone is skeleton, and there is flesh around that, right? There is muscular skeletal system. So you have to work on your muscular skeletal system to make your spine erect first. And the muscular skeleton system has to be made erect, means that you have to come back to Annamaya Kosha, Anna Shuddhi. What food do you take? The carbohydrates, protein, steroids, medicine, etc. that you are talking about. You have to get back to sattvic food. Okay. And a bone is also made up of cells. Like every tissue is made up of cells. Every organ is made up of cells. It's only 3 trillion cells combined in different forms. Some place you call it as an organ, some people call it as a bone, some people call it as a tissue, some places it's called as a flesh. Even blood cells we talk about. Blood itself has got cells in that. Okay. Ultimately, we have to come back to cellular biology to get a uniform platform or a base platform to integrate all these ideas. Okay. It is said, if you go to biologists, they will say that cells have their life and cells will change. But they will, when they change, when they multiply, they combine, they change, etc., etc., the quality of one cell is passed on to the other. The old cell dies, but it ensures that there is a proper handover. The baton is handed over to the new cell in terms of the characteristics of that cell. Okay. So that is why, even when I was young, okay, and even when I am old, I still feel I exist, because the sense of existence is passed on from one cell to the other. The body might have been young, the body might have been in, what they say, child age, infant age, child age, teenage, adult age, middle age, old age. You can have all this, but then the sense of existence that happens to you, that's carried on in the cells itself. Okay, and that gets carried forward even though the cells die and change, reproduce. Some cells, they have just a few hours, I'm told. Some cells multiply, reproduce, and hand over every day. Some do it every 3 days, some do it every week, some do it every month. In about 20 days, most of the cells seem to have changed. The cells that you had 20 days ago are not there today. But then, a lot of continuity is still there in terms of handover. Okay? So, the biology, the entity called cell died, new entity came, it just got transferred. Okay? Keep this in mind, because later on when we talk about rebirth, we will talk about that. It's a very important link between rebirth idea of Hinduism and this. But then things like bone, changes in bone marrows, and they take a longer time, I'm told. Okay, and your bone can change completely in about, bone structure means skeletal structure. Okay, in about 11 years. I mean, these are something that you can verify, check. If it's not correct, change the numbers, no problem. But the process, the function is what you need to understand. They change in 11 years. Okay. So that's why they say if you do yoga and pranayama and asanas and all that for about 12 years, you would be a different man, completely transformed. Your cells are completely transformed because many cells have changed. With every cell, you have introduced a new intelligence to that, a new Shakti to that, the new prana to that, the new quality to that. By the time it changes to 100 cells or 100 transmutations, it has changed significantly in terms of character, in terms of quality. Same thing is true for birth, rebirth cycle also, we'll see later. Okay. So this qualitative change that is happening in cellular stuff, including bone, which takes about 11 years. So if you do a full 12-year cycle, the organic change without intervention can change your body. That means if you sustain your yogic practice for cycles of 12 years, it can be 12, then it can be 24, it can be 36, depending on when you started, how long you sustained, and how long you went. When did you give up? When did you not give up? And all that is involved. Okay, you're only changing the whole cellular biology in you and making you with the best of life, best of the biological life to start with. Okay. So pranayama, the function of prana, the life force which is around you, can be made to do this purely by yama niyama of food and how you deal and how you regulate your prana. Methods of regulating prana is called pranayama. Okay. There is Kapalabhati, there is Bhastrika, there is Anulom Vilom, okay, and then there is holding. How do you hold prana? What happens when you hold prana? When you hold your prana, when you say breath, you are holding breath, but when you're holding breath, you are actually holding the prana along this. Okay, so something happens here in this line. When you release, something else happens here, and therefore some nadis become more important. Okay, the nadis become important. The Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna nadi become important. Okay, Ida is supposed to be along the spine or inside the spine, but along this line. Okay, and it is going like this. It's not straight, as I told you. It's not straight. Ida, Pingala is not there. There's a shape that is given. Okay. But then ultimately they have to become straight, and they become straight, they become one, and they become one, they become Sushumna nadi. Okay, when they become Sushumna nadi, then the controlling points, okay, you will see that a lot of changes that will happen, how you control your prana. Okay. Becomes strong enough, and then it becomes seamless. By the time many of your nadis have been opened, many of your chakras have been made unnecessary, that it's running. Chakras have to be made unnecessary because everything is flowing through nadis. Okay, but to make it unnecessary, we'll have to make all the 116 chakras work. And all the 16 chakras work, they actually don't work. They let things flow through you like water flows in a river. Maybe not flows, it just stays. Okay, because flows means there is ripples and all that. Okay. So that's about the pranayama concept in terms of how to make it run, how to make it work in your body. along the spine, along the backbone, in a straight line, at various levels of chakras. And each level of chakra, obviously, when you may be successful in making Mooladhara work, you may not be successful in making Sahasrara work to the extent that you want it to work. But then we also said that the fundamental comparison of a reptilian animal to us is the backbone. Okay. So if along the backbone, let's say up to the Ajna Chakra, where the brainstem ends, I would like to think brainstem is also an extension of the backbone. Okay. Spine. It doesn't stop there. Okay. Spine goes up. It's an extension. And there can be debates, biologically speaking, where does the spine start and where does the backbone start and where does the backbone end, the cervical and all that stuff here. But I would think that you should think of that extending into brainstem as well. Okay. So starting from the tailbone to the brainstem, if it can be in one line, and the prana can flow seamlessly and then get distributed, and you are able to control the flow, okay, then you got your life going well. Okay. The function of your life going well. Now, to make that happen, you have to have a erect spine, which means a backbone which is straight. And the benchmark for that erect spine is said to be the spine of Rishi Dadichi. If you see, I think it's in the Puranas or Vedanta, you will find Rishi Dadichi, who is supposed to have the erect spine, the perfect spine that one can think of. Okay. And the Indradhanush is supposed to have been made from Dadichi's string, from Dadichi's backbone. Okay. So Indra, the story says, is that Indra said, I want to have the best weapon. And he said, I want to have a bag made of a material which is like Dadiji's backbone. Okay. Strong, straight, and the ability to deal with, and flexible also, because you need to bow, right, the notion, all that. So that's a story of the Purana which connects the idea of a strong, straight, fully extended, flexible backbone to Indradhanush. Now, Indra we'll see later. That's a Vedic concept, Vedic idea. Okay. So the perfect benchmark of a straight, strong, flexible, extended backbone is Dadichi's backbone. The story shows that Dadichi gave it away and then he set himself into fire, into Homa, and once the fleshes got burnt out, the whole spine was available for making the Indradhanush. So if you have a backbone as straight and as flexible and as strong as that of Dadichi, right? That means the backbone is strong, it is straight, and then the spine that is going inside is also straight, like this. So the nervous system can work best in that place. Okay. And then there are the nerves going around. So the nervous system in the body will work fine. The prana nadis are opened. Okay. It is coming in. Okay. And you can regulate it, moving up, moving down, moving side, whatever. Prana, apana, vyana, samana, balanced, udana. Then 5 upapranas that we talk about, okay, which going from here to here. Okay. That's pranayama in detail. Okay. So for you to master pranayama, you need to master the backbone. Okay. You need to master the erect spine. Okay. And when you do that, your reptilian animal part is completely taken care of. Okay. And when the reptilian animal part is completely taken care of, the need for food and water will not be there. So it's a big process. Ashtanga Yoga explains it well for us to relate to ourselves. Forget other philosophies. So I got Ashtanga Yoga from Patanjali. I got the Nadi Chakra systems from the Shakta schools. I got the cellular biology from modern science. And I gave you indication in terms of how it affects the nervous system because it's all straight line. So I put few systems together to explain the whole thing so that you can see that there's a commonality. They are not talking differently, but they are talking at different levels. Gross level, subtler level, okay? Going up to unlimitedness to, from limitedness to unlimitedness. Now, these are the ideas that we will talk about later, okay? From opening up, people use opening up as a concept, people use expansion as a concept, okay? People use activating as a concept, people say enliven, reinvigorate. I mean, a lot of terms that are used is basically that. Okay. We'll continue in episode 6.